And here we are with episode 7.
With episode 7, the penultimate episode. And it looks like a lot of things happen in this episode. So, Leon, do you want to just do the introduction on what's going on?
Yeah, there's lots going on in this episode. And it looks a bit disjointed, but somehow then the storyline pulls together towards the end again. But we have an opening scene way back in 1962 in the Taurus Mountains, where we get to know the background to the horseshoe. We get introduced to the horseshoe thing when Kamal Ada's father was fallen ill with infection and was taken away by a doctor to a hospital. And similarly, the other themes, we see Ada's grandmother suggesting she could become a doctor one day when she does the stitching. So that's when the doctor theme starts also. Layla receiving money in her bank and, dances up and down with overwhelming joy because her problems have ended. Sergey is consulting now clients on a street corner cafe, which is quite interesting. And one of my little highlights for this episode is Muko saying to Fico, but she says, who would let you marry their daughter? So as if she's saying, I've sussed you out already, buddy. You're not good enough for my daughter. So those are some of the themes. There are many others, but I think maybe that's a start, is it?
Right. And so I'm going to work back to front. Isn't
Okay.
it? If somebody came to you, you love this girl, or you are finally coming out of your shell, and you love this girl, and this girl's mother tells you you are worth nothing. And it's he already feels so worthless. And then just rubs that salt in the wound. For me, it is, that's so hard.
It's really, really tough when she says
but
to him.
You know what? It's a reality. It's an absolute reality. And it's a reality where a parent does not agree with the choice that the child makes. And in this case, it's more than that. It is, yes, she's protecting her daughter who's old enough to make her own choices, but there's also the fear in her of losing her daughter. But then at least if a daughter marries somebody, she could marry up, not down. And this comes to, in Afrikaans, we say you marry into the wrong side of the railway line. So, and this class distinction that often happens when a couple marries and they're either from the wrong religion or they're from the wrong class and things like that, or the wrong color, whatever it may be. And my question is, I understand as a parent we want to interfere because we want to protect our daughter, but is it right to do so? So that's the one thing that I immediately come up with those questions. The other one is we're now talking about Ada's father, which brings another really a big question to mind. What were the parents to do? This boy was sick. The doctor comes and helps and says, I'm gonna make your son better, and he would have died. So as a parent, do you give up your child for the child to survive? So there's a big sacrifice that the child survives. And this is the same or similar sacrifice that mothers do who give up their children, that there is no way forward, that they see they can give this child a good life. But in this case, it is a case of your child is going to die, and I'm going to take him with me so that he can survive. And these are travelers, and they move on. And we need to look at the time span. What are the chances of the parents ever finding their child again? Are they ever going to come back? And the father does the only thing he can do. He gives the child this memento, the horseshoe, to hold on to. So the child has this horseshoe that is the only thing that connects him to his parents. And then Ada asks the question, or makes the statement, the most powerful bond we have are the people who brought us into this world. And I've done quite a lot of constellation in terms of where the parents have passed and the children are, even if they're taken up in their own family, it's not the same as the parental bond. It's not this, it hasn't got the same loyalty either from the parent or from the child. And this we need to really take into consideration. And so when I do a constellation in where this happens, the doctor took on a child that he then supports and brings up and, you know, then possibly treats as his own, but he's never the father. The blood is the traveler's blood. The doctor is the educated one. But we also see how the doctor then comes back and Ada becomes the doctor in a different format. She doesn't quite know that. So that is a good comeback there. But what I do in a constellation, and I maybe think this is the right point to actually do that, is to set up the parents, the blood parents, and then set up the parents. In this case, I would have set up the doctor and his wife as the parents who then saved his life, actually. They saved his life, and so they are responsible for his life, and they take on this responsibility. But the blood parents is the primary bond, and then the doctor and his wife are then the secondary bond. They're equally important because both parents, in this case, gave life.
Definitely. I will equally honor the primary and the secondary parents, in other words, the blood parents and the surrogate parents, because they, in a sense, that is the orders that is called for in this situation.
And so it is, so that's very tragic for Ada's father, is that he is looking and looking and looking. And possibly we know from constellation, what is he looking for? When his wife, he was very, very happy with his wife. He was very much in love with his wife. But my question is, was he looking for his mother? And therefore, he's looking for another mate. So, because we see how much he loved his wife. So it was, when we go looking, and when we take that to also Ada's husband, he also was looking for his mother. So it is very interesting that we have this theme repeat in this series.
Very interesting, because we start with this Bedouin tent where the boy is brought out. So immediately we have a strong notion that this is a roving tribe or a Bedouin tribe, the gypsies of the time. And so the next generation also became gypsies in their own mind, because they'd feel disconnected with those parents that brought them in the world. Yes. And so his roving eye continuously, as you say, is looking for his mother, from the one woman to the other woman. And we know what happens with these kind of strange attractions. They comfort for a while, but they leave you dissatisfied.
And that's where the real mystery is, because we look for something, we can't find it. But our bonds with our parents will always endure, even at the cost of our own will. And
exactly.
So we then have the situation that Ada then also reflects her path basically into becoming a doctor. And it's also where she then is left behind. Again, she's the doctor that nurtures him until he passes. So again, that's also very, very key here, is this doctor that saved his life, and then the doctor that is with him until his last breath. So
a repetitive pattern indeed, because later on we hear Toprak reflecting about the frustration in their relationship, about how Ada always come back from the hospital, not being able to save a client or something, and then she will break down in tears, and how he just couldn't hold that space all the time. So it's a repetitive theme that runs then through all the rippling through the family history.
Well, the loyalty also to the doctor who saved her father, isn't it? In that sense.
Yeah. Yes.
So this is the thing. That is that part that's trapped in the bond in the past that somehow manifests into the current life. And that's what is meant there. There's that entrapment that comes forward. And then the question is it fortune? Is it misfortune? The consequences of the steps taken or not taken in the past are either fortune or misfortune. And so this is really the thing, is the really, really difficult choice of the mother to say yes. She would have kept her boy, but it's the father who says no, let's let him go. And yeah, so that's really very interesting to get that into full flow. And then we have Layla being delirious with having finances into account, and Sefki being on the corner giving advice, and Muko having her little her little reprimand, you're not good enough, which for me is heartbreaking.
It's quite tough, because she said in one of the sentences, you should get your shit together and maybe you'll get lucky. It's quite...
Little does she know he is. That he is getting lucky and that he's getting everything together. But obviously she couldn't see that.
She couldn't see it, no.
And then we have the scene with Toprak arriving at the restaurant and Fico wanting to be this good friend and saying, you need to phone Ada because you have unfinished business. And this is really the thing, is it's always about unfinished business. So we need to go forward until the business is finished. But in the meantime, Ada is firm. Okay, Selim has begged. I need to give him a chance. And she really is made her mind up. I'm going to be with Selim. He is the right choice for me. And she gets herself all into the mood. And Selim says, no, I'm not coming home. Little does she know that he's meeting with the mother of his future child. But he is distraught when he gets the information of the girl being pregnant. And he does what a lot of men do, because the first reaction is make it undone. Make it undone. And while I understand that reaction, this child will upset my life. I fought for Ada to come back home, and now you're putting me into a corner. And she says, I don't need anything from you. That's okay. I'm just telling you that I'm having this child. And for him, it is, no, make it undone. And I'm going to share a little bit of a personal story here, because that's very much my story, in terms of the father couldn't see his way forward to have this child. And my mother said, no, I'm having this child. No matter what you do, I'm having this child. But we also need to look at the turmoil in the father. And I had the fortune of meeting my birth father very late in life. And I could discuss with him the turmoil, what this event that he had with this woman, and then there's a child, and then it's his whole life coming to an end. It would have been his whole family coming to an end. And his name, his reputation, his everything. And so for him it is, I need to save myself. And a lot of people have this thinking, I need to save myself. And my mother said, it's okay, I'm also going to save myself. I am planning to give this child up for adoption. So she was also going to save herself. But here's the question, what about the child? That moment of their interlude created a life, and that life is sacred. And so when we look at the sacredness of life that you willingly or unwillingly have created, it's no longer about you. It's about taking responsibility of whatever has happened. It's not something that we can just put it away.
Yeah.
And I'll share my story. So when I've eventually met my birth father, and he told me, he took responsibility for telling my mother that he wanted me aborted. My question was, so it was okay for you to commit murder? And he hadn't brought that concept together. He hadn't. And he said to me, when I asked that question, it hit home that he put his life above, and he was willing to commit murder to preserve his life. And it is something that needs to be accounted for. And we have Ada, who also aborted a child. And then we saw in the constellation that that child existed. It still is the bond between her and Toprak. So no matter when that problem is eliminated, that bond, that sacredness cannot be eliminated. And that's something we need to consider in these situations. So
when you discuss this with your biological father, how did that help you? Did it bring peace to you? Did you feel that both of you find peace in this situation?
We did. We had a really good getting together. Today I can laugh about it, but he said to me, you need to understand, I want to live in peace. I want to die in peace, because he was at the end of his 80s. And I said to him, you need to understand, I want to live in peace. And
beautiful.
So we had this, and then he eventually got the whole family together. He introduced me to all my siblings. We had a dinner and he introduced me to all my siblings. And as we walked home from the dining hall to the home, I said to him, I do apologize for sort of disrupting your life. And he said, no, you need to understand now. I can now live in peace for a couple of years longer.
How beautiful is that? I love that.
That answers your question, is that when we know the turmoil, the thing is, I, as his child, could understand the turmoil. So it's not about the turmoil. It's about taking responsibility for all your actions. And he really stepped into it in a big, big, big way. So I salute him for the big way he has stepped in. And yes, today I have a good relationship with also my siblings.
Well, that's the healing that constellation work can bring for all of us.
Yes. And so maybe this is a little bit off topic, but the thing is, this is what we see in this episode, is the bond between a parent and the child. And we spoke about the sacred bond in our last episode.
And it's lovely that you bring Toprak and Ada in again here, because Fico then speaks to Toprak and he says those powerful words: we can push people away when we really want them there. And for me, it's almost like a throwaway line at one of the sentences when she looks at herself and she said, I think it's after he's put the phone down, that he says there's something between us. And then she reminisces about that, and then she says, there's only distance between us. So she can also feel it, but she's not courageous enough to admit it.
Well, if we really look at the distance, it's the yearning. The distance is the child they gave up, or that she chose to give up. He wasn't even aware of it. And that creates distance.
Yeah.
It creates connection. It creates that connection, but it also creates a distance, because there's this ultimate betrayal that she felt when he was with the other girl. And then we get to the drama part.
You mean Layla get this call from the police?
Yes.
Yeah, I like it. I like that he says, we want a cup of tea with you.
Yes. And so there is this whole interaction between Layla and Erdem that is really brewing, because not all is well. The idea is that they go away together and whatever, but something is not sitting well. And so there's always that little bit of tug of war coming in there. And then we look at Ada wondering what is in her father's suitcase, and she finds the horseshoe.
We're back with a horseshoe. And
then with that, she finds a picture of her father with the other family. So now, in the same breath, we have Ada finding the picture of her father with another family, while Elim is confronted with a woman, and he's also becoming a father. So he's now also going to be a father and creating a new family. And so there is this really, Selim is completely broken. He doesn't know which way to go. But Ada is looking at it from a bigger perspective. And she's looking at it with gentleness of a daughter for her father. And she's realizing this is a repeat pattern. And there is a situation that she just has no way forward other than telling Selim to be with his family. But the way they give each other the goodbye, for me, is so beautiful, where she basically sets him free. They basically acknowledge she wants him to be with his daughter, or with his child. We don't know whether it's a son or a daughter. She wants him to be with his child, and she's able to set him free, knowing that she herself was not able to give him a child. She always put that on the back burner, and looking at having a child would have brought her too close into dealing with the giving up of her child. But she's helping him make the decision and giving him free to the other woman. And I believe that is such a beautiful scene when they take off the wedding rings.
Yes. get to finish off on Ada and Salim, I like that sentence where she finally says, I actually blamed my mother for that, but now it's too late. And it turns out that now the whole story is revealed. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that in because it brings the whole storyline together.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes. So she now understands her mother. And I think that is why she's able to set Salim free differently to the way her mother set.
Absolutely. Yes.
It was a gentle letting go rather than running away.
Mm. Toprak, I think, speaks his heart to Sergei, and he says, do you think I'm stupid? And then he explains the background of his own inattention and his own ambiguity, loving this woman, loving her to bits, but she is very, very obsessed, almost, can we say, with her work, and take it very personally and very emotionally when she comes back and cries her heart out when a patient, she can't rescue a patient and so on. And he just shares a little bit of his conundrum, that he couldn't hold that space for her too much. And then at the end of that scene, Sergei just listens and listens and listens. And then she realizes and she says, do you love Ada after all that has happened? Still loves her. And I think it's also a nice wrapping sentence to bring that storyline to another cliffhanger. We don't know what's going to happen next between Alva and Toprak, but what it brought to me is when people are given the opportunity to really authentically speak what is in their hearts, then there's a door that can open to a new chapter. But if we suppress and hold things under wraps, there's no movement for the soul.
I like what you say, there's no movement for the soul, because you're so caught in the here and the now, and you don't know where to go. But he also opened up to his own sense of worthlessness, where he is now, and it's a humbleness that he comes across with. And in that humbleness, he can play with Sark, because now he is like, I'm also just a little kid and playing. So I think that is a beautiful coming together there as well.
Definitely. And Ada then looking in a mirror there, I think she looks at her father's photograph and she says, the man I love is just like you, Dad, with no idea where he should take root. In other words, just a nomad. He's also a nomad. Yes. So she sees those insights are valuable movements in the unfolding constellation work.
But she understands her love for Toprak now.
Yes, yeah.
And
comes from the father.
She also understands her loyalty to her father and her love for Toprak. So for her, it's starting to open up and make sense.
Yeah. Lovely.
And then we have Muku and Segi having a disagreement about Fiko, and Sevgi wants to stand her ground, and so Layla is also in the scene, and Layla is like, brings up the word, the mention of Zaman, and Muko is really Zaman. So she now lashes out as identifying that Zaman is the cornerstone of all her problems, which then also leads her to getting his place closed down. But that is only revealed later. But so she's really finding it difficult to bring all this stuff together. Everything's nonsense for her now.
Yeah. Muko finds change very difficult. She wants to keep things as they are. She wants to keep her daughter close to her. She wants to nurture her. She wants to be the mother to her daughter. So not unleashing her into the world to be the free woman that she can be. So it says a lot about the history between the two of them, which we have covered before. But I think those powerful words from Sergei that says, "I'm not a kid anymore, damn it, please just give me a break." And she wants to unleash herself from all of that old story.
And then Zaman takes Fika under his wings a little bit and says, when are you going to, do because he always gives tasks, and when are you going to deal with your father? And because your father represents abundance and blessing. And it's essential for you to make money. And unless you sort out the issues with your father, you won't get your life back on track. Because although Muko really throws him in the deep end there is some truth in it. But the truth is not that he's a good for nothing. The truth is that he hasn't got the connection with his father that he desired. And then we get a glimpse into Fiko's difficulties, where the difficulties are, again, the mother leaving when he was little, the father then taking another woman to bring up the children, and the father unfortunately chooses a woman who is not very kind, who is really so terrible that Fiko and his brother eventually have to leave, but he's completely rudderless. And what Zaman says is, if you can connect to your father, you can connect to the core of who you are, and then your life will come back on track. And for some unknown reason, Fiko doesn't get himself there, for the simple reason is there's so much difficulty, so many horrible memories that he can't even go there. And that is often why we stop ourselves from healing, because we don't want to go and open up that pain, because we've been running away forever. But then this running away also keeps us searching forever.
Do you also find it in your practice that when specifically male, but also women, when they disconnect from the father, that they kind of become rudderless and on the search all the time, specifically when it comes to conducting a functional life and being focused in life and being focused and successful? It's almost like, they become distracted. They're not connected to that father energy that grounds them into the functional realities.
Absolutely. And this is the thing, is because maybe not so much anymore, but we still have the belief system is the father needs to protect the family, the father needs to provide for the family. And I heard something very interesting just in a chat talk, and this woman said, we don't give men enough credit for all that they do. Men go out and work. Men go out and make sure that the family is well provided for. And women don't often give men enough credit. And this is the thing. And then when a man like Fiko, he does everything. He's not scared of working. He is so creative. But he just can't keep it together for the simple reason he doesn't want to. And there is no need for him to keep together, because he hasn't had a family structure. He doesn't know why we would want to build a family structure. And that's really what it is we need to know what a family structure is for us to feel safe. And it's with the girls as well. The nourishing that the girls don't get from a mother, the girls can become equally rudderless, let me call it that. And then we wonder why we have so many difficulties in our relationships.
But Fiko has now met Sergei, so this could change things.
Absolutely. So yes, and it'll definitely change. We'll see that in the next episode. But Fiko and Sergei do end up together. And they have that special time in the ocean. They end up together, going home together, and obviously this blows Muko's top completely. But this
The
all
mother,
comes to pass because they end up asking someone, why isn't he having a next session? And someone says, there is nothing more. And why not? No, because I've been closed down. So Muko has actually opened up the door for Ada, for Sevgi and Fico to have the day together and have a beautiful time together. And so that's how it goes.
It's an interesting irony.
Isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. And then again, with the last little bit of this episode, Layla watches the boat, sees how her husband is taken in, and that sort of ends it for her.
Yeah, with the reports that the boat has sunk.
Yes.
I think that's the end of the episode.
Yes.
A good cliffhanger, because we don't know what's next.
Absolutely. So, Leon, this brings us to the end of episode 7. So thank you for sharing this with you. I think we've had a little bit of going a little bit sidetracking, but thank you for sharing this with me.
Yeah.
And we look forward to our next episode, which is going to be our last episode in this series. So thank you. And keep well, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.